Hey friends, I have a new video for you, and it's one that I've wanted to do for a very long time, but honestly, I couldn't figure out the mechanics of it. So, I'm very grateful to my friend Nikki who basically talked me through shooting overhead videos. And today I'm going to show you my very kind of simple book journaling method. And I will do that by showing you some pages from my journals. I love watching those, and they're just always so cool to me. They're super vulnerable and personal. And I love watching them even when I am not able to replicate the exact system that somebody else has. But to me, at least, it's just so inspiring to see how other people's brains work and how they set up their pages. I take what I like and what makes sense to me and just kind of leave the rest be. I hope that that's how you see this. This is how you perceive this video that I'm about to show you. And I really hope that you can tell me, like, how it's different from um, your system, especially around book journaling. Okay, let's get to it. All right, so let's start at the very top. I'm going to show you the pieces, the three pieces of book journaling that I do. So I have a Paper Republic journal, and I will link to a previous walkthrough that I have done of this one that includes my part one journaling notebook. I'll tell you what each one is. My reading log. And then I have my Commonplace notebook where I keep my quotes. So I'm going to walk you through each one. And I'm going to do this basically in the order in which I use them as I finish reading a book. So, um, let's say I've just finished reading something, and my first step will be to take this notebook. I'm going to set this one to the side for a bit. And I'm going to um, put the title of the book at the top, who the author is, and then I'm just going to kind of freestyle notes about it. In this particular case, I'm showing you Nova Scotia House by Charlie Porter, which is one of my favorite books I've read this year. And here you can see that I actually took some notes on it somewhere else on a piece of paper because, you know, that will happen to you. Like, you'll read a book and then, you will be out and about or in a work meeting, which is probably what happened over here. And you start kind of thinking about it. So I took notes and then I just tore that page out and I added it into my journal. So it belongs here with this one. But basically, it's just freestyle notes, what made me think of, what I loved about it, just basic plot summary, and maybe some themes. In this particular journal entry, I finished with the themes: true love, freedom within relationships, doomed love, love in the good times and the bad, in sickness and in health, the HIV crisis, yada, yada, yada. I have it all here written. Um, I also have a little sticky note that is a list of Jerry's favorite music. Jerry is one of the characters in the book. And I just wrote them down with the idea that I would probably make a Spotify playlist using these notes. And basically, that's it. So it's very kind of, and here I am on to the Mobius book by Catherine Lacey, just the next thing that I read. So I do this every time, and on purpose, I keep it very low key and unstructured. It's just a way for me to kind of capture my initial reaction to a book. And these are the notes that I will refer to when it's the end of the month and I'm putting together some notes for my Substack and doing kind of more thoughtful book reviews. But this is really just for myself. So that's what I'm going to do first, and then sometimes these notes will be, I can show you more pages, but sometimes these notes can be a little bit more structured. Sometimes, like this is just several pages that I wrote on the Mobius book. Sometimes they're just a little more free floating. Here I have, a list. I do a lot of lists. I don't know if you've noticed, but I do a lot of lists inspired by the books that I'm reading. So in this particular case, I have authors mentioned in Catherine Lacey's The Mobius book. Dania Saldana Perez, that's her husband. Brenda Cullerton, Sarah Manguso, yada yada, like just a list. And typically, I will use those lists as they come up to inform my future reading. I really love to read this way, actually. Here, I have notes on Vivian Gornick's The Odd Woman and the City. This particular case, this is just one little page. That's fine here, but I do remember writing this, like love versus work, radical feminism, friendship. Our interests change with time. We change. Our needs change. It's, I mean, just looking at this very simple page, it works for my brain and it takes me back into the book. I remember it very well based on this. Here I have notes on Adam Phillips's attention seeking. More notes. This looks like I probably was planning some kind of a post for my Substack that's around books, so it belonged here. I have notes on the wall by Marlene Haushofer. This is based on an interview I've read with Claire Louise Bennett and some things that she mentioned, inspirations like Janet Winterson, Clarice Lispector, Natalia Ginsburg. In an interview for the Chanel podcast on YouTube. Okay. So you get an idea. This is, what do I have here? Tender with a Touch of Weird. I made a video about that a little while ago, and that is, that was a video inspired by my reading of Ghostfish by Stuart Penbaker. And I asked people to recommend to me weird books that were similarly tender. And this is the list that I kind of came up with. So it's a reading list to refer to at some point. A poem that my daughter wrote, and I just wrote it down. This is a note from Jane Tuttle, who owns the bookshop at Queenscliff, and she sent me her book. So you're getting an idea. It's very free flowing. I try to keep things simple and just allow myself the space to just record some thoughts on what I'm reading. So this is the first one. After I finish journaling about a book, typically the last thing that I will do is like, okay, I read the last page, I journaled about it, and then I will go into my reading log and enter the book into my reading log list. So you can see these here are the lists are pretty damaged because I spilled water on my journal basically as soon as I started this notebook in January. And I almost considered starting a new reading log because those first couple of pages are in pretty bad shape. But I then thought, this is just going to be the funky one. And it feels very memorable and biographical to look at it with all of its stains and splotches. So I'm just going to stick with it. We'll see. Maybe I'll come to regret it later. But this is essentially just a list of the books that I've read as I complete them. And I have like a little kind of book count list. I keep track as I finish a month. Like I just add the number of books that I've read that month. This was my middle March tracker, but I fell off the wagon as early as week 1. That's okay. We'll return to it. And here we are in September. This is what I've read so far this month. I love this log so much. I am on a mission to convert as many of you as possible to keeping record of your books this way, because it is just so fulfilling and meaningful. And I just love this extra little bit of completion and this sense of completion that I get from keeping this reading log in this shape. It's so satisfying. And then the only thing I wanted to point out is that I will put an asterisk next to the book that was my favorite book for that month. So in August, that book was The Wall by Marlene Haushofer. In July, that was Long Distance by Aisha Savage. In June, well, check out 19. I forgot to put that asterisk there. I need to do that. Nova Scotia House in May. I need to go back and fill my little stars in, but here I am in April doing Assembly by Natasha Brown. So that was journal number 2. And then, I'm sorry that I'm so sniffly. I just have really bad allergies right now. But okay, so this is the last notebook, and this is my Commonplace notebook, which I've showed in the past. I just haven't really shown what it looks like what the actual pages look like. But this is a somewhat new practice I started last year, and the way that I think about it is this is the record of my most favorite things that I've read. So I don't, as I've mentioned many times before, I underline as I read typically. And one of my clearest indicators, early indicators that I'm enjoying a book is when I catch myself underlining a lot. But this Commonplace journal is a record of my favorite quotes from the books that I read. And I make myself be very selective in what I record. Like, I really want this to be my Bible. This is the quote that I have from Ralph Waldo Emerson in the beginning of the journal. Make your own Bible, select and collect all the words and sentences that in all your readings have been to you like the blast of a trumpet. Like, this is not everything I read and liked. This is the blast of the trumpet for me. And without sounding morbid, but I really think of this one journal as a journal that I want my kid to keep and read from me when I'm no longer here. Just the things that really inspired her mom. So these are quotes from books. I don't like, if I'm reading something to learn, if I'm reading an article to learn something, this is not that type of note. This is just fiction and poetry. No quotes that inspire me. A lot of these are, this is out of Le Mans, so this is a lot of poetry stanzas. It's just the best of the best, the most favorite of the most favorite. And I actually try to be pretty merciless with this one. I just don't want to collect fluff and stuff. This is just what I really want to protect and remember and preserve, because I actually keep this note in my desk and add and try to read these quotes as often as I can, just to keep them alive in my memory. As you can see here, early on, I just kind of wrote the quotes and skipped a line. Here, I created this little paragraph, this little symbol, so just like a little dot with an X mark in the middle, just to create separation between the quotes, because I was finding out that they were just kind of hard to separate. So this is this. I haven't, as you can see, I read Nova Scotia House in July, I think, or even June, and it's been a few months since I've put my quotes in, because it's just been a busy summer and I just haven't had the time to do it. That is totally okay. This is not meant to be an archive. This is just kind of a highlight. So I will be doing more catching up on my commonplacing this weekend. I have scheduled that time in my calendar. I just don't want to make myself just so beholden to my system that I stress myself out about it. So these are the best things that stir my soul, and I do them when I have the time and I feel inspired to do it. And even if it's not every day or every week or every month, that is totally okay. it's an ongoing practice, a practice of a lifetime. So I don't really mind. The last thing I want to show you before I close this out is the index that I created, because I did a lot of research early on when I started this notebook on how to make it as usable as possible. I really have wanted to do this kind of notebook for a long time, but I really was struggling with findability. Like, how would I knew that I would record the quotes, but I wanted to be able to find them if I was looking for them at a later point. And I know that you can do that very easily if you're creating a digital notebook. I previously was keeping a note of quotes on my notes app on my phone, but I wanted to move to an analog notebook, and I was just trying to crack that one little piece of it. And then I found this resource by a guy online, an engineer somewhere in, I don't know, I can't remember. I'll link that in the description of this video. But this guy basically taught like a whole system of how to create an index. So basically I took the last few pages of the notebook and created sections for each letter of the alphabet. And as I complete entering the quotes from a particular book, I will typically put the author in there and the pages where that chunk of quotes is. And then I also index themes and topics covered in those quotes. So, for example, um, under the A section, I have quotes around aging, attraction, and art. Under B, I have Claire Louise Bennett, but also quotes on belonging, being seen, and Bach. Um, in the C section, I have quotes around confidence and capitalism and Chopin and courage and community, and so on and so forth. So this, as you can imagine, makes this system super easy to use. So, for example, um, I remember reading a poem by, I think it was Ada Limon, about some horses being friends. So let's see. Okay, I have under F, I have friendship. I have the pages 15, 17, 39, and 40. So let's see if I can find anything around that. Page 4, 15, and 17. Hmm. Oh my gosh, here it is on page 15. Okay. Two female horses, retired mares, separated by a sliding barn door, knows each other. Neither of them will get pregnant again. Their job is to just be a horse sometimes. Though they cling to one another, find a friend, and will whine all night for the friend to be released. Through the gate, the noses touch, and you can almost hear, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Oh my God, I love it so much. It's such a good poem. So, I hope that this kind of gives you an idea of how the index works. It's very simple. I think that in the future, as I complete this particular notebook, I will probably give myself a little bit more space for indexing, because apparently I'm a very detailed indexer. But lessons learned. It's totally okay. I can always update the system to serve me as I go. My last little bit of quote unquote wisdom around this is that I wanted this notebook to be leather bound so that it's more reliably archivable, because I imagine this one being passed down more than these ones. Like this one, the notes that I keep are mostly for the purposes of my Substack, and then of course the reading log I hope to keep as well. But this is the one that I know that I'm trying to preserve for my kids. So I wanted this one to be a higher quality notebook, and also wanted it to be a notebook by a company that has been around for a long time, so that I can reasonably expect to be able to continue to purchase the same notebook. Okay,